This isn't going to be a highbrow pitch about investment strategies or allocation methods. This is a down and dirty method of beating the odds and surviving with less than the experts say you need. Nothing presumptive or pretentious. I'm simply going to touch on the sort of things you really don't want to know or face. Messy stuff that sucks for anyone in their path. But in the end, the discomfort of addressing the issues and being prepared with a counterintuitive, formidable defense to protect you from becoming a victim to them will be awesome. I've spent over 4 decades as a financial insider. The information that I'm going to share took several focused years to compile. It started in 2007 trying to find the best protection for my mom, who was 85 when my dad died. And, well, it just bled into crafting solutions for myself and my 7 boomer siblings. I stumbled on a strategy that you will want to know and follow that hasn't even been mentioned elsewhere. The topic is about deploying a fierce financial strategy with a formidable weapon that can protect you and your spouse for the rest of your lives during your golden years. It's not tricky or risky or complicated, but others may suggest that it's cheating. I implore you to pay attention because what I have is special, and if you don't pay attention here, you may never stumble upon this game-changing, life-enhancing strategy again. So, well, do you remember the 1980s TV show MacGyver? He was a master of outwitting his adversaries with common, on-the-spot handy stuff that he crafted into weapons. Well, this is a financial, handy, on-the-spot solution akin to the MacGyver physical weaponry. Once you learn what I've got, you're going to want one of your own. When you find yourself in the middle of a financially fatal event, you're going to be thrilled at how well it works. The minutes you invest listening to this information that took years to assemble are meant to change your life. We've been lucky all our lives, mostly. Our astonishing numbers began to attract attention as society bent, broke, and then changed to accommodate our needs. We've changed things in every stage of our lives. This is no time to stick our heads in the sand. We've got changes to make. Oh, stop it. These aren't my numbers. I'm saving you from hours of boring research by setting the table on how you're going to make the system work for your personal best financial interests. This isn't some warmed up old stuff that doesn't work. It's a counterintuitive twist to protect you. The old rules may say you're at risk, but when we bend those rules to our own advantage, many of us will get by on a shoestring budget. The more you know, the better you'll like it. Well, you are if you have a net worth of $2 million or less at retirement. Risk is just a word until something risky falls on you. It just sneaks up without warning, like a shark on a surfer or a windshield on a bug, but it can be less merciful. It's stealthy like a heart attack, and your life can be devastated like a trailer in a tornado. Protection is quite easy, but like an uninsured mobile home after the tornado, in order to work, it must be deployed before any calamity hits you. Don't get me started. Those are famous last words. This is only one of many common examples that have very similar results. Why do you think their passengers are paying hundreds of dollars for a very short ride to an easily accessible place? This is what an unplanned emergency looks like. In case you haven't connected the dots, seniors take more of these rides than any other age group. And unless they've proactively deployed a formidable financial defense, they can become a victim of dire circumstances. You really don't care to think about these things, But if you want to avoid having one take you down and spit you out on the street, pay attention. You see the problem? People seem to plan their golden years with fuzzy optimism. Many people under 65 hope that Medicare will cover all medical care during their retirement years. We're living longer, and no one knows just how things will go. A recent study by the Employee Benefit Research Institute found that Medicare only covers about 62% of a retiree's health care costs. For example, put yourself in this predicament. Your spouse has a totally unexpected stroke or heart attack or accident. It doesn't matter what the cause, but you find yourself in a huddle with the emergency room doctor who tells you there's a chance that your spouse can be saved, but the decision window is quickly closing and you've got to approve what action they take. Time is of the essence. Would you A, give a green light to whatever they suggest so they can proceed without loss of any more critical time? B, begin negotiating with them on price, including a fixed cannot exceed amount? C, tell them you need a little more time to compare prices with other hospitals? Or D, give them a red light and tell them to turn off the buzzers because you hadn't planned for anything like this? Now, this may sound callous, but A is only prudent if you've already protected your estate. Yet, and you already know this, most people pick A. So, how much will retirees spend on health care? Hold on to your seats. The Center for Retirement Research at Boston College reports that out-of-pocket healthcare expenses for a couple at age 65 could range anywhere from $197,000 to $570,000 during their remaining lifetime. A Fidelity study says that a 65-year-old couple will need an additional $240,000 to cover out-of-pocket costs not covered by Medicare. Are you as astounded as I am by the spiraling costs of medical procedures? Procedures that may work, or maybe they won't. Yet all of them end up as big numbers on a bill, and they all want to be paid. Now, I don't know which of those numbers will come true for whom, but I can tell you that's a lot of money any way you slice it. And when the bill comes, it won't be at a convenient time. If you can't pay the bill immediately, they're going to put you on a payment plan. And if you fall behind, the collection department will go after your house to get paid. Yet, a benchmark for retirees for years has been to own their homes free of debt. So how would homeless fit into your retirement plan? According to a University of Michigan law professor, Americans age 55 and older account for over 20% of personal bankruptcies in the United States. Most are caused by medical emergencies, and 75% of those filing were covered by private health insurance. Bankruptcy involves time, stress, records, attorneys, and, of course, more money. If you were prepared in advance, this would not be necessary. The point I want to impress upon you is that you've got to protect the assets that you have. We'll go over this in a moment, but next, my dear wrinkling friends, look at the costs of a slew of other unplanned, unbudgeted expenses, like dental. You've got to keep that dazzling smile. You've got a dog, right? Or a cat? If you don't, you're going to end up tripping over those rain buckets. You know these things aren't cheap, don't you? Next time you're at the Home Depot, wander over to the appliance section and take a look at those price tags. Here's a haunting thought. Can't see, can't drive. We just looked at medical costs not covered by Medicare. So, different plans, different prices. Oh, please, no excuses. You knew this could happen. Toys are easy, but have you priced tattoos lately? This shouldn't have to be mentioned, but hitchhiking is probably out of the question, right? Wait, did I really almost forget booze? What can you expect from your own nest egg? Do the arithmetic, then ask yourself, how fast would my nest egg income get gobbled up by any of those expenditures? All kidding aside, as you read through the list, remember that even with $500,000 in your nest egg, we're only talking about an annual income of about $20,000 before taxes. And for anyone thinking that they'll address these threats to their financial security in retirement by working, here are 3 words to chew on. The millennial generation. Yep, there are even more of them than baby boomers. And from an employer's perspective, they're younger, stronger, and less taxing to an employee benefits package. So they'll likely soak up the prime jobs. What's left for most of us will probably involve taking orders over a speaker. So don't bother with that line you've been using where you say you're going to work for the rest of your life to stay vibrant and alert. Come on, I've been looking for a plausible excuse to explain why leaving the house at 8 a.m. and returning at 6 p.m. is fun too. Lou Holtz said, never tell your problems to anyone. 20% don't care, and the other 80% are glad you have them. I saw an ad on TV recently of a guy getting into his car when he noticed a note held by a wiper blade that read, "You're going to have a heart attack today." I don't know how you'd treat this, but I'm quite certain I'd have to go back inside and change my underwear. But if it happened to you, would you drop everything and make a mad dash to the nearest emergency room? I mean, like, right freaking now? This is where things get a bit tough. I have an athletic cousin named Jim who's only a year older than me. A few months ago, results from a routine medical checkup revealed that Jim's body is riddled with cancer. Now, all of his time is preoccupied with hospital visits, procedures, and fatigue. I can tell you this, to delay implementation of a financial strategy to protect your nest egg can be the difference between having a roof over your heads or losing your home. Rolling the dice on security can leave you or your surviving spouse out in the cold. I'm simply bringing these issues to the surface now to confirm what you may already know, but few of us, probably including you, have done what needs to be done for an effective financial defense. If the numbers and the additional potential expenses of retirement that we just visited have you convinced that you'll never be able to retire, stay with me. All I did so far is to introduce the glum box that most of us try to plan around, the one that suggests that maybe we should just work till we drop. Thinking outside that box is where we find the kind of solutions that can set us free and retire. But first, I want to make sure you understand the real value of what I found before I give it to you. In 2007, I stumbled upon something while reading small print on some legal documents, and I began connecting dots that pointed to a powerful strategy. What I found may be the simplest financial protection device on the planet, but it isn't marketed as one. I call it my treasure map, and I'll share it so you can retire safe and secure beyond your current imaginary limits. Statistics say that most of us are not prepared for retirement. And the math we do in our secret thoughts make us think that, well, they may be right. But again, we're the baby boomers. As we move through life, we disrupt status quo. Retirement will be no different. Some of us have saved more than others. Many of us who don't believe there's any chance for retirement will learn they may be able to retire on a shoestring budget that also includes a counterintuitive shell of protection that unplanned circumstances will not crush. Hey, this isn't the way we expected to enter our golden years, but we never expected to get slammed by the housing crash in 2008 either. This is protection from outside the conventional boundaries. When you're in serious financial danger, you won't be concerned about how you protected yourself, just how well it worked. I was lucky when I was younger, until one day I noticed a middle-aged man peering back at me from the bathroom mirror. I was in my 40s, and it dawned on me that I had no plan for retirement. I got serious. I began thinking, even acting like a responsible adult. I began saving, then investing, then strategizing for retirement. I took time to educate myself and became a familiar face in the offices of my financial planner, my insurance advisor, my CPA, and my estate attorney. I was driven to touch all of the important bases towards my goal of a stress-free retirement. I channeled income that had previously provided fast cars and boats and nice clothes into investments that confirmed that I could retire before 60. My home is my territory. Like a lion, I'll defend my territory, and so should you. I'll show you how to keep that roof over your head when the law would have allowed others to take it from you. This covers two top retirement objectives: housing and nest egg, and, well, of course, happiness as well. If I lost everything, what I'd miss most is having a home, and so would you. My home is a space where I'm in relative control and feel relatively safe. Why else, according to studies, would retirees on a fixed income allocate the lion's share of their carefully trimmed budget to housing? Sure, you might score a bed in a shelter or just sleep under a bridge, but my personal preference is a dry bed with clean sheets. So many people put off important choices like downsizing, relocating, and lifestyle options longer than they should. When any move will be harder because of age, choices will be narrower because of price elasticity, financing qualification, and such, or after an unplanned emergency when it's already too late. Quit resisting that little voice in your head. Now it's time to start making your list of wants, needs, and desires for housing. Get it done early. Getting it done early allows more choice options for the rest of your life. We're planning to retire on a shoestring budget. There have been quite a number of studies, several in 2014, on the financial impact of housing expense to seniors' household budget bottom line, each with differing cross-section details, most with similar findings. The biggest monthly budgetary expense for most seniors is housing. Unplanned events. If one hits you, your whole family will feel it. Again, the time to insulate your estate from complete collapse is not after an accident or medical episode that can start the sequence, but before any potential episode can rock it. Pre-planning financial escape routes and safety zones are not normally considered by seniors, other than maybe securing adequate life and health insurance policies. Remember that horrific note on the windshield? What good are any warnings if you do nothing to remedy the problem? You can't protect yourself after the fact. Once you've completed 3 steps, you're done. After you finish the 3 steps, you're welcome to revert back to being the champion procrastinator for every other thing in life that you're trying to avoid, because you'll already have your secure spot under the roof that can protect you and your spouse for the rest of your lives. The 3 steps: number 1, commit to a sense of urgency. Number 2, make your home selections. And number 3, make your retirement home look horrible to a debt collector. You're thinking, really? This is the breakthrough that'll let me retire? And I'm thinking, yep, this may just be the kick in the pants you need to escape the rat race. So let's revisit reality. You'd rather not work until you drop. You suspect that you don't have sufficient funds in your nest egg to retire. You want financial protection for what you do have. You want choices, not insurmountable problems. This isn't going to be some kind of genie in the bottle granting 3 wishes. This is a rat race escape route. Finding a solution for a top item on your retirement needs list at a bargain is great. Finding this one that covers additional whistles and bells that also appear high on your list, plus protection that was probably not even on your list, will be like a little slice of heaven. I wrote a skinny little book with large print detailing strategies I've nailed down for my own retirement plan. Even when you downsize, consider that qualifying for traditional financing involves much stricter lending qualification guidelines than you may have grown accustomed to, including income verification, credit scores, and specific liquidity reserves just to get approved. Loss of your job can throw your qualification out the window, and you may be unable to continue making the big monthly payments. How would losing your home support an orderly transition into retirement? Retirement needs to be all about having choices, not insurmountable surprises. Face it, you'll be screwed if you don't have enough money to cover your housing. Understand, even a little joyride to the hospital like the needless one I took last year can be expensive. Mine was booked by my hysterical wife and ended up costing thousands of dollars for the privilege of a 6-mile ride in an ambulance with a blaring siren. I knew I was okay, and I told the ambulance crew my story when they arrived. They suggested I might as well just go to the hospital for a checkup. Better safe than sorry. My wife was freaked out. She liked their idea and insisted that I go. She followed in her car and was at the emergency room admittance counter almost as soon as they rolled me in. If I had followed the suggestions of the hospital emergency room staff, I'd have been admitted on the spot and then promptly whisked away for countless exams and procedures that they said needed to be done. They said a specialist was called and was rushing to the hospital to examine me. So I sat in the emergency room on a wheeled cart wearing a backless gown for 5 hours, listening to creative excuses for the physician's delay, during which time I continually refused to be admitted until a physician found suitable reason for me to do so. But no doctor appeared. Finally, I got dressed, told them that if I really had urgent need of a physician, one would have found me by now, or perhaps I'd already be dead, and I left. The bill totaled several $1,000s. The coded pages made it appear that something was actually done, but nothing aside from the ride happened. That bill could have skyrocketed had I followed their suggestions. The point is that we paid the bill, even though I thought they should have at least offered me a cigarette after the way I was apparently screwed. Had I already been judgment-proof back then, I certainly would have negotiated the bill down to perhaps the price of the ride. If I had already downsized and financed my retirement home with a Hickam, I'd have been protected financially. Lesson learned. What? Oh, how, you ask? First, I'm not suggesting that you should stiff a collector for goods or services rendered, because you shouldn't. All I'm saying is that with so much on the line, collectors will be challenged to go after your home to extract payments. This gives you more options, choices, and control in difficult situations. I'm also suggesting that it would be irresponsible of you to not employ this sort of a defensive strategy in protecting your personal security. When you're actively trying to stretch your money, what sense would it make to allow anyone else to scoop all of your money from your bank accounts or take your home? In order to set your retirement up for lifelong security, all of your nest egg assets should be considered deployable to initiate your defense. The takeaway from that wasted Thursday morning is that it could have been much worse. I might have had a real medical problem, and the emergency room might have injected tens of thousands of dollars onto the bill, covering several pages that only a healthcare code specialist could decipher, and I'd have had to pay them. Or they could have gone after my home to get the money. Or, worse yet, we could have been retired, owning our retirement home free and clear, and making ends meet on a modest fixed income budget where such an event would eat months, if not years, off of our nest egg. And if we were unable to pay the bill on their terms, they would have started the process to go after our home for satisfaction of the bill. This is the snowball effect that you never want to experience. A well-off friend and client of mine had a siren ride of his own a few years ago. His ended with a heart procedure, and the bill was over $100,000. He was covered by an excellent health policy, but his insurance company limited their payment to about $17,000. That's it. George had previously made himself judgment-proof. When the dust settled, he told the collectors to accept the insurance offer or leave it, and he let them know they'd be getting nothing more from him. They took it, and he's done with them. At a minimum, his nest egg could have taken an $83,000 hit, but didn't. Even if you have excellent insurance coverage, you're still at risk. Medical procedures can be very expensive. Even name brand, high-priced policies have lots of small print, which is not a paper-saving strategy. This is where they hide all of the tricky language. Have you ever read every page of a thick policy, both big and small print? I have, out of necessity. That was part of my job when I was self-employed. There are lots of rules and numbers in group policies. Some of them are limits, some deductibles, some are clauses that apply to in-system procedures by select physician. There can be upcharges for anything outside the networks, and so on. The point is, even when you're wrapped in the best policy money can buy, covering everything you can possibly imagine, you can still get the surprise of a lifetime. Trust me when I tell you that big expensive surprises are no fun when they're introduced by a letter from a law firm or anyone else that's coming after whatever you have to satisfy whatever they say you may owe. If any surprise in retirement does not call for party hats and cocktails, be afraid or be protected in advance. We live in a litigious society. Defending yourself from even small, unsubstantiated nuisance issues can be expensive. Sitting unprotected in a courtroom is not on my bucket list. Protection from this should be on yours. Carrying insurance or having Medicare and its supplements will not be enough. There is ever-increasing importance to evaluating risk to your household if you encounter uncovered medical or other expenses. A short stay in a hospital can cost tens of thousands of dollars. A major illness or injury could last weeks, even a month or more. So thank goodness you're insured, right? Trust me on this, I've done the research, and the percentage of rejected claims, even with top name brand insurers, can exceed 30%. That's 30% of claims rejected, not 30% of the entries on a bill. That's a big difference. A rejected claim on a policy that already cost big bucks to eliminate this sort of surprise triggers time and stress and attorneys and even more money. And at the end of the day, it may be futile. There are trained professionals whose responsibility is focused on making sure that nothing care-related was forgotten. You've heard the word redundant in arguments about bills, right? There may be thousands of dollars of needless, better safe than sorry, tests that are going to show up on your big bill that you agreed to let them do when you gave them the green light. Come on, what did you think the agreement in that emergency room huddle with the doctors was all about? It's about the money they expect that you'll be spending. They already know the outcome you're looking for. If you recall, your answer was A. You gave them the green light, right? You've got good insurance, don't you? That was a security blanket that allowed you to give them the green light in the first place, wasn't it? What will you do if your insurance claim is rejected? I mean, besides spending countless stress-filled hours on the phone with the doctors and the insurance company and the hospital billing department and your bank, you're not going to be sleeping very well. Where's the happy in that? Think about this. In battle, not once did I ever see a medic discussing money before trying to save a downed GI's life. Now, excuse me for dragging this out, but I can't say this in words too harsh, too loud, or too many times. Protect yourself, protect your home, and protect your retirement. Let's up the ante. Let's say you don't have the ready cash to pay the bigger than anticipated bill. Let's also say you own your home, your retirement home, free and clear. Oh boy, that's going to look like a big wiggly worm on a hook to the hungry fish in the collection department. Having a HICM on your home before an unplanned circumstance can be a game changer. It's like calamity insurance. Even though you may not have gone through the extra steps of meeting attorneys, planners, insurers, and all the rest of the financial community for their opinions before putting the HICM in place, this piece of the puzzle has me giddy with excitement because this huge benefit comes free with the HICM that you selected for other financial reasons altogether. This incredibly valuable protection device can be the difference between recurring cold sweat nightmares or sleeping well, stressing about job loss or retiring on a shoestring, having a roof over your heads for the rest of your lives or having no roof at all. But I haven't even mentioned why most people elect to use perhaps the most flexible financial retirement tool on the planet. They want more spending money. Your house is likely your largest store of wealth. If you need more income, it's the logical place to look. A HICM is not risky or tricky or scary. It's like any other mortgage. You retain title to your home. You can sell it whenever you wish, and it can still be handed down to your heirs. If painting the kitchen a nauseating shade of fluorescent orange lights your fire, go ahead, paint that room. It's your house. The big difference is that you'll not be required to make any mortgage payments ever again. You can if you want to, and some people just do, but your trusted advisors will probably suggest otherwise. A September 2014 report from Zillow says that it costs more to rent than to buy in every major United States city. In my neck of the woods, Phoenix, they say the average homebuyer would spend less than 18% of their income to own a median-priced home versus almost 27% to rent it. There are many fresh studies projecting rampant growth in rents down the road, which is why in the book I suggest that renting isn't even a good plan B if it's at all possible for you to own your retirement home. By now you should already know what your Social Security monthly check will amount to when you start it. Did you consider how much more each check could be if you're able to hold off a few years before beginning Social Security? Astute financial professionals use best practice scenarios to boost the performance of what you have coming from Social Security. They'll review age and timing for your individual benefits and your spouse's individual benefits, and play with staggered activation dates for your best overall results. Financial professionals can use income freed up by the HICM to secure other safe financial assets that can be deployed later for a wide variety of desired outcomes with benefits beyond your current financial reach. Insurance policies for long-term care, life, and universal life policies that can pay far greater amounts tax-free to your heirs, family, church, college, favorite charity, etc. Although there are numerous combinations to customize a HICM to your particular financial situation, there are just four main strategies. The first, borrowers use a HICM to create tenure monthly income for the rest of their lives, much like an annuity. Number two, set up a line of credit. Unlike traditional credit lines that were frozen or canceled when we needed the money for emergencies during the recession, the HICM line of credit cannot be canceled or frozen, period. Number three, if you have a small mortgage on your home, pay it off. The most popular reason for borrowers to get a HICM is that they want to eliminate their current mortgage payments and use that money that would have been sent to their mortgage lender for other lifestyle choices. This is a no-brainer. If you still have a mortgage payment, it's probably your biggest monthly payment. Getting rid of it can allow you to use that money for other lifestyle stuff. Number four, use it to purchase your retirement home. Having a roof over your heads for the rest of your lives is at the top of your list for a safe and secure retirement, isn't it? Earlier, I suggested that I'm going to be downsizing my home for retirement, but I was surprised to read the October 2014 report from the Demand Institute that said most baby boomers plan to age in place, but 37% of them have near-term plans to buy their retirement home, and 47% of those that are looking to move are expecting to buy nicer homes with more space. According to the report, boomers will spend $1.9 trillion on home purchases in the next 5 years. Using a HICM to purchase a retirement home of any size can stretch the number of whistles and bells and other luxury features that can be included in that home. It also facilitates buying in better neighborhoods that would have been out of reach without this no mortgage payment financing. And don't forget, The Hickam will protect the roof over your head for the rest of your lives. That's right, depending on your age, about 50% down or less. Buy your ideal retirement home and treat it like you own it free and clear. No payments for the rest of your lives. How could that not be better than awesome? Using a Hickam to purchase a retirement home of any size allows you to increase the number of whistles and bells and other luxury features that can be included in the home. It also gives you the luxury of relocating to a better neighborhood than you could likely afford if you didn't intend to use financing. So a non-recourse loan is simply a loan that the lender can't come after the borrower or anybody else for any reason down the road. The end. That's it. So upon the death of the borrower or a surviving spouse, title transfers to the heirs, just like any other mortgage property. Regardless of how much interest compounds over the life of the loan, the payoff is going to be capped at 95% of the home's value at that time. So imagine if traditional mortgages were like that. During the crash, nobody would have been upside down on their mortgage. All other benefits pale in comparison to the financial protection a Hickam provides to you and your spouse. So now, today, you got your message on the windshield. How are you going to handle it? I implored you to make this a priority. This slideshow isn't the complete story about Hickams. It was simply a water balloon to get your attention. For more detail, you can contact me direct or get a copy of my new book on the strategy at Amazon. The title, What Every Senior Ought to Know About Retiring. This book uses plain talk about a simple event that often sounds complicated. I'm publishing this to give seniors who haven't saved enough for a traditional retirement a fresh perspective to an alternate retirement strategy.